Hey scrappers, if you're looking to figure out what materials you should sell this week or hold this week, now is the time to do it. Our weekly report is going to give you that information, up-to-date market news, pricing. Let's get right into it and we'll talk about it inside. Hey everyone, Tom from iScrap, and today is September 14th and a day after one of the worst market days since we saw back in 2020. We saw the stock market drop 1,300 points yesterday, or just shy of 1,300. And I don't normally mention the stock market, but there is a reason to talk about it because it affects metal prices. So what we saw yesterday, we saw the huge drop, and why we saw a huge drop was because we saw the consumer price index come out. And if you don't know what that is, that's comparing prices year over year. So they said yesterday that prices in August last month were 8.3% higher than they were a year ago. That was expected. What wasn't expected is that the prices for month over month, which means July 2022 to August 2022, that went up. And that's a bad thing because and that's why the market had such a bad reaction, because we've now seen gas prices go down something silly like 75 or 80 days in a row since those crazy highs that we saw back in June. So people expected that number to go down, but because prices are going up, they started to see things like products, cars, things like that, construction materials, those were going up. And last year when we saw super high steel prices, copper prices, stainless prices, pretty much all metal prices so high, you knew that there was a domino effect. And that's what we're starting to see moving forward, because a lot of the new materials that are being used now were recycled in Q3, Q4 of last year, Q1 or Q2 of this year. Most likely not Q2 of this year, and really, the last 3 quarters that I mentioned. That is why we're starting to see some of these prices tick up. So these prices going up are going to show that it's going to cost more money to make cars, build buildings, or things like that involve metal. Those are going to cause prices to go up, and that's why the stock market had such a poor reaction. What I did like was the copper reaction only went down 5 cents a pound. So you have the stock market down 5.5%, 6%, right? In one day, 5%, let's call it. Copper prices only went down 1%. And this morning they're up, or this afternoon, whatever time it is, a couple of cents. So we didn't really see a large hit on the copper market. We saw some hit on the catalytic converter side of things, platinum, palladium, and rhodium, these high-value precious metals. They did decrease yesterday, but kind of like a seesaw, they went down yesterday and right back up to where they were at the beginning of yesterday's market before those CPI numbers came out. So it's an interesting juxtaposition to see how some of these prices are going. Steel prices, we've seen those drop like 20, 30 bucks a ton this month. Now, one thing that I'm really interested in watching is what's going to happen on Friday with the railroads. You know, the song, "Oh, I've been working on the railroad," where there's like 90,000 railroad workers that are potentially going on strike. And if they go on strike, there are large amounts, I don't know what the percentage is, but large amounts of scrap gets shipped on railroad directly to mills. So these mills that have these railroad cars to come to them in the next few days, couple weeks, if the strike extends even past 3 or 4 days, they're going to stop having inventory coming in. That means that they're going to have a shortage, which could cause a quick uptick, all depending on how long the strike lasts for. So these are other things that we're looking for. If the strike lasts for a month, you might see steel prices jumping $50 a ton. Now, if the strike lasts for 3 or 4 days or a week, we don't expect much to happen. So this decrease that we saw could have a quick uptick, but that might not be reflected until October's prices. So these are just some of the things that we're looking at. Other weird things that are going on in the metals world right now. Large aluminum smelters in Europe are having such problems because of the energy shortage. So you would think that if they're not able to recycle, refine, and produce more new aluminum stock, that would hurt the market, that would help the market increase. And we've actually seen aluminum shortages decreasing the price. So we're not really positive why some of these things are going on right now, but they are happening. So aluminum prices really have been unchanged for the last couple of months. Now, we did start to see the nickel prices increasing. They were around $21,000, $22,000 a ton. They're up to $24,000 a ton, which means stainless prices have risen about 5 cents a pound. So that's really good. We did see that. But when I talked to a large consumer of stainless steel last week, one of his big problems was that they took out large orders in August at lower prices, and they can't change their prices until they fill those orders. And for those of you that don't know kind of how trading goes, an order for non-ferrous is generally 40 to 45,000 pounds. So if that consumer doesn't have 80,000 pounds to sell at a lower price, well, they're going to keep buying even if it takes longer, just to be able to accrue 80,000 pounds or whatever the contract is for, to be able to ship that out and cover things. So that might have your scrapyard a little behind if they're not a large seller of stainless and they're selling to one of these secondary guys like I just mentioned. They might not have that uptick in prices. So I do think that stainless continues to be something that you should hold. A nickel up, you're talking 37, 40 cents for 304 stainless right now. Nothing too crazy. Some places 32 cents a pound. So those prices really haven't gone, too high too quickly at all. Other markets that we're looking at, that steel market, those copper prices. One article I read about copper prices, they're saying don't look at the short-term loss. So for those of you that kind of mock us when we say hold onto your copper or sell your copper, if we tell you to sell, it's probably because we saw a price increase week over week or month over month, where some of you are holding out for those $4 numbers. Well, those $4 numbers might be coming back next year, but we are still talking months and months away. If you're a full-time scrapper holding on to a few hundred or 1,000 pounds of copper, that might be a really long time to hold that material. So, that's when you have to start to think about upside versus downside. If you have 1,000 pounds of tubing and the upside is that it goes up 40 cents, that's $400. Now, $400 is a lot of money, but if you have to wait 6 months to get it and you can't get the money that it's worth today, is it worth holding? So those are things to think about. And we mentioned that in a lot of other videos. And one of the things that we've done through our YouTube membership is people that are YouTube members have been getting some of these special videos that are coming out, giving you different pieces of market news that we don't talk about every week in our weekly report. We try to push so much information out there. And that's why I was in the middle of just responding to some comments just now. So, if you do comment and you have questions, we'd love to respond to those. We'd love to make videos on those. And if there's any other things that we can kind of touch on, whether it's how a scrapyard does business, why your scrapyard doesn't post prices. We posted a couple of videos like that recently, what you should look for in a good scrapyard, things like that are just going to help you get, better ideas on what's going on in the markets. Overall, scrap is still going well. We're continuing to see customers come in at Rockaway Recycling. We've learned that a lot of the day-to-day people, the plumbers, the electricians who aren't making their full-time, profit or money off of scrap are moving it once it's in their trucks because it's still in their way, where many of you that may be stripping the wire and bringing it back, also completely valid. And I'd love to hear you comment, below and tell us what you're holding, what you're selling right now. It's really interesting just to hear it from a different perspective, because we're always buying scrap at the yard, but we don't know who's saving things, why they're holding on to things, and how you're shopping around. So I'd love to hear about that. So today is the 14th of September. Appreciate you tuning in. Any questions, comments, let us know below. Until next week, I'll scrap you later.
Thanks for checking out this scrap video. For more exclusive scrap video content, please become a YouTube member of our channel today. Thank you, and I'll scrap you later.